The question here says, would we reject the null hypothesis if the p-value was 0.1323? You don't even need to know the details here, except the one detail that we should have is the alpha. If it's not written, then alpha is usually 0.05. In other words, the significance level. Okay? If your p-value is less than the alpha, you reject the null hypothesis. This p-value is not less than 0.05. So no, we do not reject the null hypothesis. The p-value is roughly, this is not a strict mathematical interpretation, but the p-value is roughly the probability that the null hypothesis is true. Okay? It's a 13% chance that the null hypothesis is true. So if we were to say the null hypothesis is false, there's roughly a 13% chance that we're wrong in that statement. So it's not enough to be sure of our results. We should say no here. Don't reject the null hypothesis. And again, you got a p-value. That's the number you need in order to make a decision. If you have a 95% level of confidence, so when we use the word confidence, we're talking about a confidence interval. Okay, so this is going to be a tricky question. But this is 95% confidence. That means you have 2.5% in the tails here. We saw that in that video I made a little earlier. So if you have a p-value, actually no, this won't be tricky. If you have a p-value 0.0594, then your alpha is 0.025 with a 95% confidence level, okay? If it's a two-sided hypothesis test, which they didn't even give to us here, they should have though. But if H1, if the alternative hypothesis was that the mean was different than some number, let's just call it 7, okay? This is a two-sided hypothesis, and you'd add those together to make an alpha of 0.05. Basically, alpha is the amount of area in your rejection region, in your tails of your hypothesis statement. Okay, so since we have a 95% level of confidence, they're implying that it's a two-tailed test, which means we have 5% in our tails. Our p-value is above alpha. We failed to reject the null hypothesis. No, we cannot reject the null hypothesis because the p-value is not less than 0.05.